Ask the Mayor. Your chance to ask the Mayor of Weymouth, Bob Hedlund, questions about the town of Weymouth and or anything else that you have concerns about. Ask the Mayor is pre-recorded. And now, here's Bob Hedlund.
Geez, and we're back once again. Welcome to another episode of Ask the Mayor, featuring Mayor Bob Hedlund, now enjoying his third year in office, 2 full years and a couple months into your third year. As the mayor of the great town of Weymouth, I'm Jim Melody, your citizen inquisitor, advocate, and just all around big toe. We're having a blast today. It's a beautiful day, the sun's shining, and we're coming off the buzz of all the fields that we've been working so hard on for the last couple of years. A lot of them have been opening. The Pingree fields we referenced, the Lovell field we're referencing. Legion's long been open. It's the tide is high in the town of Weymouth. And once again, I'd like to introduce our mayor, Robert Hedlund. Bob, how are you today?
Wonderful today, Jim.
Awesome.
Nice to see you.
Thank you for saying so. I've already talked too much. I've been lectured, as always, on my jib jab. So we're going to see if we can break the show record for most questions offered to the mayor in a single episode of Ask the Mayor. Before I do start the questions, we'd like to remind people to send as many questions as possible to AskMayorBob@gmail.com, where we will be featuring another exciting mug giveaway at a future show. The last winner couldn't have been more happy. Mayor Hedlund, are you ready to take on the flack?
But I'm going to distract you momentarily, Jim. I know you said you're going to try to set another record for questions, but I noticed something on social media where a post went up on one of the Weymouth chat sites by WETC's executive producer, I'm not sure of his title, Mr. Cummings, Jeff Cummings, one of our great staffers at WETC.
Big fan.
And he put a link up to a previous show, and it elicited a number of comments. Sometimes it elicits comments, and sometimes it doesn't.
Tell me more.
I don't have the entire comment thread in front of me, but there was a comment from a Mr. Gary McDougall. I guess I can use his name since he put it out there in the public domain, right? On the internet.
I think that's more than fair.
Are you familiar with Mr. McDougall?
I do not, but let me get my bulletproof vest on. I have a feeling the shots are about to start coming my way.
Says, need a better sidekick. Keith is available. I'm not exactly sure who Keith might be. I have a suspicion, but I'm not entirely sure. Yep. Keith is available. No offense to Jim, but he's a little too Ed McMahon. Bob needs a challenge. A little more Andy Richter.
I'm a fan of Andy.
Take it for what it's worth.
I think it's a fair comment. But I've enjoyed being the Hardy to your Laurel, the Larry to your Moe, the Costello to your Abbott. So, counterpoint, everywhere I go these days, we're hits.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone over 85 is in love with one of the two of us, I can tell you for sure. That's our audience.
We're big in Japan.
We're going national. We'll try not to forget Gary when we move on to TNT. All right, Bob, once again, we said we were going to try to break the record, and clearly I need to be a little bit more aggressive with you, so where were you on the night of April 2nd? All right, dear Mayor, it appears the town has recently installed several cameras along the waterfront in North Weymouth. It sounds a little Big Brother to me. What is the reasoning of having these cameras? Who's watching us enjoying the Weymouth waterfront? I will have to get a fully covered bikini this year. From Jim Melody? Huh? What?
So recently, I'm not sure what recently means. Since I've been in office slightly more than 2 years, I do not believe we have installed any cameras in North Weymouth. There were cameras that were installed in North Weymouth preceding my arrival here. They were funded.
Parking lot, beach?
Yeah, Lane Beach and a couple other locations. They were funded through a federal, we got a question in the previous show from Ed Hartnett, but this was a federal Homeland Port Security grant. And I forget what the rationale is that the feds are picking locations. But one thing that confused me when I came into office to discuss this issue with the police department on where the locations that were eligible, maybe I shouldn't tip people off, potential terrorists, but you know, we got one on Lane Beach, but we don't have one keeping an eye on the Fall River Bridge, kind of. But I think that has been addressed. The Fall River Bridge issue is addressed or is about to be addressed. But we didn't have control over where necessarily all of the locations were going. But there are, yes, a couple cameras in a couple locations in North Weymouth, including Lane Beach.
But who's monitoring the cameras and the screens?
They have a feed that goes to the police department.
In Mary Heinrichs' office, perhaps? No, Mary's not involved with this. But it's the Weymouth Police.
Can I see that last question real quick? I know you like to flip them over before we're done. It says, you didn't read the whole thing. As I saw,
I did say, I said, I will have to get a fully covered bikini this year. And I said, Jim Melody, and I joked I signed it.
All right, what kind of bathing suit do you have?
I have a one piece.
Do you wear one of those ones that they wear? Do you have one of those ones that they wear in Portugal?
I used to wear one of those, and the Weymouth Police called and asked me to stop, quite frankly.
All right, next question.
But I have one of those tank top short combos that they used to wear in 1910, and I look smashing, I don't mind telling everybody as well. And it sounds like a great Jeff Cummings opportunity for a graphic as we look forward to future shows on air. Again, Mayor, I see a number of solar panels I see a number of solar panel powered speed limit detectors along the busy streets of Weymouth. Why were they installed, and is this a way to catch speeders or leadfoots like me? I look forward to hearing your response. It said anonymous and then signed Steve McQueen, so perhaps Mr. McQueen's back. So we have solar powered monitors of everybody's speed, and there's the police department, I would imagine, would be monitoring those, right?
They just went up last week.
Oh, just last week? Wow.
They were part of a 2016 grant we received, Complete Streets program. It funded a number of safety-related initiatives, roadway safety initiatives around town. 6 of those went up at various locations around town. Middle Street, Pleasant Street, a few others.
I need to write those down. Can you keep?
Well, they serve as a friendly reminder, because sometimes you can be traveling at a rate of speed, you don't realize exactly how fast you're going, and this is a way for people, and they've proven to be effective.
And the speed limit's 30 on almost every street in Weymouth, right? Well, most of the main
ones. Unless posted, that's right, our, 30, okay. Unlike Braintree, they just lowered theirs, by the way, which the state passed a law allowing you to choose a lower basic speed limit, which Braintree adopted. The other improvements in there are a number of other things, but most notably, and they were completed yesterday and today, I believe, we had 2 of the solar-powered wiggle crosswalk, illuminated crosswalk signs. One is going at Legion Field, because when the overflow at Legion occurs, people park on the opposite side of Commercial. Sure. And we hope to have a lot of access from Legion to Emory. We're hoping people will have that connection to Emory, King Oak Hill Park at Emory Estate when that opens up. So there'll be a lot of people using that crosswalk. It's very dangerous. We've got a lot of complaints. This is going to improve pedestrian safety there. And the other one is going up at the crosswalk in front of Shaw's over there. That's a problematic spot. There's a lot of pedestrians that cross to go to Shaw's.
Close to the center of town. Close to the geographic center of town.
That's correct. You're learning. He learns a lot from the show. So these things are incredibly effective. Some of the data on those is that improves pedestrian safety 87%, 83%, something like that. And there's other assorted improvements that are occurring. We hope to get another Complete Street grant in the future. They're very effective.
So they're not actually monitoring if you go over the speed limit, you're not going to get a ticket in the mail. They're just creating awareness.
Well, you know, it was interesting. I think a lot of people were speculating as the work was being done. And the poll went up, and people thought they're going to get tickets in the mail, and this, that, and the other thing. But it supplements some of the traffic enforcement that the police department does. I think you'll probably see, I know that the department likes to go out on Pleasant Street a lot with their radar traffic enforcement unit, and I would suspect that they might hang around areas where these poles went up, and people ignore the opportunity to see it and slow down, and they continue going fast. There may be some enforcement down the road, but no, you're not going to get tickets via camera on those things.
Well, that's good to hear, but I like them. You know, like you said, oftentimes it's easy to kind of space out and go a little faster than you probably should. You don't feel like you're going that fast, but I think that sounds like a pretty positive thing. All right, Mayor, Moore Road and Woodrock Road are private ways. Who owns them, and is there anything the town can do to hold the owners responsible for properly maintaining them? These roads have fallen into a horrible state of disrepair over the years and detracts from the businesses that are located there. Do you know where Moore Road and Woodrock Road are? Do I know? Or you know I don't.
You know where it is.
Where are they?
Have you been to Barrel House Z yet?
I have not, as a matter of fact, but everybody's saying great things about it.
And we have a second brewery locating in there also.
I saw that on the press.
It's privately owned. It's owned by the owners of the property. They own sections in front of there.
Is that by Weymouth, the Weymouth Club? Where is it? Give me a general idea.
No. You're thinking of Libby Industrial Park.
Libby, okay.
This would be the Weymouth Industrial Park, which is located between Washington Street by Capone's and Pleasant Street.
Oh, sure, behind that car dealership there. On the back there.
S&E.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
yeah, Comcast is down there.
Comcast is down there. Your favorite place?
Yeah, oh my gosh. Moving right on.
Now we're going to get about 150 Comcast questions the next show. So they own it, but we are working with them to go through. We have this headache on private ways in this town. We've talked about it before. I won't get into it, but this is going to be one of our first areas where we undertake a betterment program where we will be paving it, and the owners will be assessed a betterment fee on their tax bill. So they'll pay a portion of it over 20 years or whatever the payback is. Legal department is putting the finishing touches on it, but we need for a certain percentage of the owners of the property to buy into it to make it binding. They have had internal meetings. It seems like the majority of them want to do this finally, and I think it's like 70%, could be 80, but I think it's 70% of the owners in there have to buy into that, and that makes it binding on the rest of the people.
Geez, we could probably spend the whole show. I got 1,000 questions for you. I would not, just very quickly, all those industrial parks then are private property essentially?
No, not all.
Okay, but some are, the big expensive.
It's a real mishmash.
Wow.
As I've said on the show before, we have like 300 private ways in this town, and they come in all shapes, sizes, and forms, and how they ended up that way is a conglomeration of reasons too.
Yeah, boy, wow. Okay, Bob, this one's very involved. I'm going to try to see if I can summarize. It's from Ed Walker. He's sending his greetings to you. Hi, Mayor Headland. This is just a comment about the proposed mural and lettering that are proposed to the North Street MBTA Railroad Bridge, which we've talked about in the past. I don't think anything's been done down there just yet. I have to say he's against these two items.
I think he weighed in on this before.
Yeah, exactly. Reiterating that he feels this is the town's most sensitive historic district, and the bridge is like a gateway leading to two of our most important historic sites, the Abigail Adams House and the Old North Cemetery with the Civil War Monument. And he's right about both those things. The granite and the bridge abutments are the faces of the original blocks that made up the original bridge abutments, and they date back to the 1840s. The Historic Commission has done through the historic mitigation. The Historic Commission had this done through the historic mitigation when the MBTA, when the service online was being restored. So they obviously survived that. Putting a mural over them impact their historical importance. The Wildcat lettering would also not be appropriate on the bridge panels because I believe it would have a real negative impact on the Meeting House Historic District. I'm saying this both as a concerned citizen of the town and chairman of the Weymouth Historical Commission and one who worked on the historic project with the MBTA as a member of the commission. Boy, Bob, this is one of the things,
Would Ed feel better if we did it in an 1840s font?
Well, you know what? This is one of the things that always, I start scratching my head because I know your job is...
You weighed in on this issue before.
And you know what? And I was going to get to that. This is why your job's a challenge. I thought the idea of the murals and lettering was a great idea. But now that I'm hearing his point of view, I think that's also extremely valid, and it makes, obviously, the job very difficult as far as, what's the right thing to do.
You'd make a good politician. So you'd make a good member of the legislature.
If I could figure out where the streets are in the town, I'd be 2 steps ahead. But so what are your thoughts on that? I was in favor of the murals, no two ways about it, but I'm an advocate of his point of view as well.
I think it could be done in a tasteful way where it wouldn't take away from the historical significance of the stone abutments that support the bridge, in my opinion. But his points are valid nonetheless, and he's still in the minority. But nothing's happening anytime soon on this anyway.
Okay.
Can you guys get a shot of that? This, by the way, was knitted by the mother of the questioner, which is on loan.
Oh wow! How long's that been up there for? 100 years, maybe?
About a year and a half.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it looks like.
Are you just noticing it for the first time?
Yeah, there's many things I miss as I'm driving and walking through this town.
So his mother knitted that.
And I think it looks phenomenal.
Okay, so when I first hung it up, some of my inner staff here was critical of it. Didn't like it, but it's grown on me, and I think it's all right. Someone said it. Well, I don't want to insult Ed, but a couple of the staff didn't think it fit with the historical nature of the room, ironically. But they also criticized our 2 beavers up there too, by the way.
And even I take hits at this show, so that's okay. Hey, I get picked on for going up the Great Hill quite a bit. I've also spent some time strolling through that Old North Cemetery. It's a phenomenal cemetery. If you haven't walked through, it's well worth an afternoon stroll. among the folks who have distinction there are Alexander Graham Bell's assistant, Thomas Watson, which I'm sure you know. Everybody probably is familiar with that Watson come here, I need you story when Bell was inventing the phone.
So
He's buried there.
So you would be the Thomas Watson to my Alexander Graham Bell here, right?
I'm not buried there yet, though. But,
as opposed to the Abbott and Costello analogy, or the Ed McMahon analogy that we opened up the show. By the way, this show, really the cornerstone of the show, really is citizen input. And if you want to get one more shot of that, because I have had conflicting opinions among staff, would love some feedback from our viewers. If you think that is tasteful and goes with the office, or should we take it down? Let us know. And Ed, you can weigh in too.
If it's relevant, I think it is what was there prior. Anything significant, or just?
I'm not sure. I forget now.
No prints. Yeah, who knows?
Painting or something. I don't know.
Final epilogue on that Watson story. He went on to start the Four Rivers Shipyard, which is why his grave is overlooking the shipyard. If you go up there, it's really something else. All right, Mayor, we're continuing our mini lightning round here. Dear Mayor, I am concerned about some local developers looking to wedge in more housing into the R-1 zoning by threatening to use the state's 40B process. You're going to have to explain what both those are to me. Is there anything that can be done to preserve our neighborhoods? Haven't we met our low-income housing ratios already? Signed, a frustrated resident. So, Bob, looking to wedge in more housing into R1 zoning. What is R1 zoning?
Residential 1.
Residential. So it's just exclusively can only be residential. And then by threatening to use the state's 40B process, what is the 40B process?
That's the state law that allows developers to bypass local zoning, something that I was heavily involved in for a long time in the legislature and tried to get reforms to. Citizens groups put a question on the ballot a few years ago to repeal 40B. They were crushed by developers, the real estate industry, the Boston Globe, liberal housing advocate groups that think that this law is actually accomplishing something which it isn't.
But what is 40B? So I live in a residential neighborhood. What is 40B? I still don't get it. So I can come in. You can come in.
I'm not going to get into it, Jim, but it's the state law, state's affordable housing law, quote unquote, that allows a developer to bypass local zoning to put a more dense project in basically anywhere.
But it still would be residential.
Yeah, it can be rental or it can be, home ownership, houses, can be condos, whatever.
Okay.
But it's a law that a lot of abuse was uncovered by Inspector General Greg Sullivan at the time. It's a very controversial law. It has done very little to create affordable housing. It's been in place since 1969, and it basically it does more for developers to make a buck than it does to create affordable housing. And we have a controversial one that's been proposed in Weymouth, which is, I think, the person's referencing.
Can you reveal the location of the proposal?
There's another one in the works, so I don't know where they're citing, but I'm guessing.
Sure.
So, is there anything that can be done to preserve our neighborhood? No, this is your state government undermining and usurping local zoning when these things happen. This particular one we're opposing, and we believe as a town, and we have a 2003 decision from the Housing Appeals Committee, that we're exempt from Chapter 40B, not because we've hit our 10% count under 40B of affordable units, but because there's another provision in the law that the state is looking to undo, which is another whole long story, but there's a calculation on surface area of affordable developments, and there's only a few communities that comply under that minor provision in the law, which we comply according to the state in a decision back when Avalon was being done on Washington Street in 2002, 2003. So we believe we're on solid legal grounds to deny this particular one that's arisen that we don't think is appropriate. It's basically 12 units in a single-family house lot in a residential neighborhood.
Wow. They've qualified for the 40B distinction, though, arguably, or they're going for it?
No, they're trying to put it in under 40B, but we're saying they don't qualify because of a previous decision that we're basing our opposition on. And that may go into court, it may not go into court, it's early in the process. Wow. So that's the answer to that question.
Wow, son of a gun, if you lived in one of those neighborhoods, obviously, that wouldn't be a good thing. Bob, got one more question for you real quick. It's, the title is Sovereignty, and it's sent in from the Norfolk Weymouth Civic Association. Mr. Mayor, can you discuss the final steps we need to do to become a sovereign entity within Weymouth? Thank you. From Jeff.
I suggest Jeff can tune in to what's going on in California. There's a movement afoot in California to to create a new state for a big chunk of the state. And I saw the map. This group wants to basically take the entire northern part of the state and eastern part of the state and kind of carve out that whole.
Oh, not the existing state as we know it? The whole
No, they want to create another California, create a 51st state.
Oh, a state?
A state, yes. Okay. In terms of the process for North Weymouth, I don't know. I mean, he'd have to, do some research on that, but he can look to California as the model, and I think if it's successful there, it can be successful anywhere.
They'll be the rebels, we'll be the Union. Civil War in Weymouth, holy smokes. Listen, we're getting towards the end of another great episode of Ask Mayor.
We got a lightning round.
Yeah, we do.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Continue to send the questions to AskMayorBob@gmail.com. Mayor, would you like to go, before we go to the lightning round, a new feature here at Ask the Mayor, we have a couple follow-up questions, and we do have the time to ask you your opinion. We don't have the time.
We'll get the follow-ups later.
All right, then we'll go right into the lightning round. To keep the show new and fresh, we've got a
I have not seen these, but our producer has told me that she's consolidated a number of questions into this format, so let's do it.
All right, are you ready? Are we being timed on
this?
Are
some of these your questions too?
These are none. I had no knowledge walking
through
the front door.
Let's go.
Here we go. 60 seconds. This is the rapid fire round. You have 60 seconds, Bob. Go. Favorite exercise: softball, cycling, or tennis?
Softball.
Softball.
Tennis wouldn't be on the list.
Your next trip: Finland, Baseball Hall of Fame, a concert venue?
Probably a concert venue.
Any show on the list, or just who knows what comes down?
I saw the Pretenders a week ago, but I have nothing queued up.
Thumbs up or thumbs down on the Pretenders?
I saw them in 2009. This is a much more thumbs up than I saw them last time, and you're turning it into a
hey, it's all the rehearsal we did going into the show. Favorite sporting event to attend? Baseball game, pro wrestling, NASCAR race?
I've never been to a NASCAR race, despite the fact I read on the internet that I was a big NASCAR fan. I would say baseball.
Favorite leisure: snuggling up with a book, playing video games, catching up.
And by the way, just for the record, I haven't been to a pro wrestling match in 20-something years either. So
I'm sure Jason's
definitely baseball game.
Jason's heart's breaking as we speak. Favorite leisure: snuggling up with a book, playing video games, catching up with friends at the pub, mate.
Not video games, so A or C.
How about we go 2 minutes?
I like to catch up with friends at the pub and bring a book with me. How's that?
Who plays you in a movie? Nicolas Cage, Kevin Bacon, Johnny Depp, or Lurch?
That's interesting. Probably Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Depp's already played a guy from Weymouth.
Yeah, Depp did play a guy from Weymouth, didn't he? Good one.
Favorite burger joint?
I would say Hal Holbrook.
Favorite? Quincy? Weymouth! Favorite burger joint? McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's?
Probably none of the above at the moment. But back in the day, I would have said Wendy's.
And John's is McDonald's.
I remember the first time I went into Wendy's in Ohio, and it was a big deal. It was great. I'd never seen one before, but go ahead.
Which town employee would beat you in a 50-yard dash? Steve Riley, Ted Langell, or deceivingly fit Bob Luongo?
Okay, there's a sleeper here.
There goes your 2-minute round.
Even with my bad leg, Steve Riley, no. Ted Langell, no. Bob Luongo, possibly.
Hey now. Didn't notice how they didn't put Jim Melody down here. Favorite season: spring, summer, winter, or fall? James Taylor wants to know.
Well, C is winter or fall, and it looks like that's combined.
I didn't need my glasses for
so
that
I would
one.
have to say I would have to say summer, but I also like fall. Spring is lousy around here these days. I mean, spring has become like an extension of winter, and fall has become an extension of summer with all this climate change going on. So I will say summer.
New Weymouth ordinance: only 2 seasons during the course of the 12-month period. Favorite pizza style: bar pizza, Greek pizza, or Italian pizza?
Tough one. I would say the A.
Bar pizza. Give me Italian. Bring me to the Venetian. Final one, Mayor.
I mean, a good pizza, you can have bad bar pizza, and it depends on how it's cooked. I just like my pizza well done. And it has to stand the rigid test. You hold up a slice, it's got to go like that, not like that. Let's go.
For you pizza parlor owners, if you had a choice, if you had to choose a decade to relive again, would it be your in the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, which would make that your teens, your 20s, and your 30s? Knowing you as well as I do.
I would say not the 90s, 70s or 80s.
I'm picking up good vibrations. 80s was the high point of your rock.
60s. Good Vibrations was the 60s.
67.
Well,
I know my Beach Boys.
It's not one of the answers.
That's all right. I'm just trying to make a reference to the old time, your Halcyon days of youth.
Yeah, but it doesn't say based on music. It just says a decade to live. Okay, you know what? I would say, I'm going to make my own answer up. I'd say mid-70s to the mid-80s. You know what year Americans had the highest standard of living in the history of this country?
67.
Before it started to decline, 1979.
79.
So I would say late 70s into the early 80s.
Isn't that the year you graduated Hingham High School?
That was the year.
There's a reason perhaps for that summer of love. All right, listen, we still have a few minutes to catch up. We got 2 minutes. May I revisit some issues that people are probably looking for a little follow-up on as we look to wrap up another episode? All right, Mayor, a viewer wanted to know if the town would consider a dog park to the left of the field at Julia Road. You'd say you go down there and check it out. Did you get a chance to get down there at all?
So, development on the dog park, great question, and we thank him for that. And I'm not going to say where, but we think we have identified a more optimum site. We're doing some initial assessment. It may or may not pan out based on some future development that could possibly impact this, but we have the perfect site right now.
Beautiful.
And we think it's a better alternative than Julia, one that he probably would like better. It has the potential to be bigger, more scenic, and better accessibility, parking, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's just one drawback, and we're trying to figure that out, a potential development that could be adjacent to it that would maybe preclude us from doing this. So we might have some big news on a dog park. And by the way, we have to sign off on a proposal that Braintree is putting forward on the Braintree side of Pond Meadow Park. They're trying to build a dog park there. It requires our acquiescence, and I think maybe a vote of the town council here in Weymouth because of the joint management of Pond Meadow Park that we have, but it's a Joe Sullivan initiative over on Braintree's side. So you'll see some news on that soon, and we'll have some debate in Weymouth whether we should buy into that.
That sounds exciting. Bob, I would like you to reiterate, if you can recall off the top of your head, the dog policy on all these incredible new parks, because when I went down to Level Fields, those Pingree Fields, I didn't think you could bring a dog, and I saw a ton of dogs on our beautiful turf, but allowable, obviously, and the maintenance.
You saw, say that again?
A bunch of dogs on that new turf field.
That's absolutely not allowed.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
No dogs on the turf. Dogs are allowed on the walking trails if leashed. And, we have a leash ordinance in this town to begin with. So.
Sure. Okay.
But that's going to be stressed on these are for kids to play on. They're not for dogs to play on.
Okay. I was surprised when I saw those.
And that's enforced by our dog officer, by the way, fairly stringently.
The great Mike Parker. This will probably be our last question, Bob.
And by the way, I am told that there will be a lot of cooperation between recreation and the animal. I called him a dog officer. He got mad at me one day. The animal control officer. And you'll see recreation to the extent within the law they're able to assisting, i.e. calling when they see that. They're not going to turn a blind eye to it, I am told.
I would imagine we're just about out of time here at this latest episode of Ask Mayor Bob. So once again, we want to thank everybody for sending in their questions. We want to remind everybody that
we're going to do the cup thing again, so mention that. I guess we're going to send in if you want another shot at the cup. Matt Simons was our winner, so anyone else wants a shot at the cup, mention in your question, I want a cup.
Speaking of
a mug.
Speaking of shot at the cup, do the Bruins have a chance to win it all this year, Bob? Playoffs are tonight.
It's going to be a tough series for them, I think.
Yeah, Toronto's definitely made a nails. Well, listen, we want to ask everybody again to stay tuned for... What do you got?
I would say Ask the Manager with Joe Domino.
And guest
Dana Hersey.
Dana Hersey. Thanks, everybody. Hope you enjoy the warm weather.
If you have a question, please email the mayor at askmayorbob@gmail.com. That's askmayorbob@gmail.com. Maybe your question will be answered on the next episode of Ask the Mayor.